Sorry about that. What I wanted to present to you today is a step-by-step registration guide. Here we subtitled it Smooth Sailing to an Error-Free Submission. Again, my name is Noelle LaRoche. I'm a senior consultant here at FreeMind, and this is part of our webinar series, a key part of our webinar series. So anybody who's tried to submit grants before knows that this is not a subject to neglect. Here in this presentation, let me just see what I can do here. So what I'd like to present to you here is an overall look at the registration steps that are required for submitting any type of grant to the U.S. government. So we're lucky in that most government institutes and most funding mechanisms are aligned along the same registration systems, registration portals. So there's 3 core registrations which you'll require whether you're requesting funding to the NIH, to the DoD, or to many other bodies, and those are Sam.gov, Grants.gov, and ERA Commons. There are many other small registration portals that exist. I'm not going to list them all here. I'll touch up on them in the end, but really these are the ones that are time-consuming. These are the ones that need to be done in every situation, and these are the ones that I think anyone looking for funding with the U.S. government should focus on. So first of all, why register? It's a valid question to say, like, okay, I'm looking at funding opportunities, I'm looking at funding mechanisms, I don't know what I want yet, so why register? Registering really should be your first concern, the first step of looking at government funding. Really, it can allow you to have access to many more opportunities than not registering, because you gain an incredible amount of flexibility in being already set as far as any administrative aspects are involved. A lot of our clients, unfortunately, have complained in the past, of course before being in touch with us, that they would find a funding opportunity, a funding mechanism that would apply to them, but it would just take too long for them to actually go through the registration and actually meet that deadline, or they wouldn't be able to focus on the preparation of a competitive application because they're working in parallel on many different registration tasks, which are taking their focus away from really what's important. So by registering early, you would avoid that. And also, we've heard of cases, unfortunately, where people do both in parallel and are optimistic, which is always a good thing, but they come to the deadline and they have a full application in hand, they're ready to submit, except they don't have the registration necessary for submission, so administratively they don't exist. So these are really the worst case scenarios, and they're what we're encouraging you here to avoid by registering as early as possible and as soon as you consider government funding as an option for you and your business. So I'm going to describe to you the sort of the dynamics of registration. Where do I start and how much time do I plan? So generally, the 3 registration that I described to you in the previous slides are to be done sequentially and in parallel, in the sense that you have 2 sort of tracks that you have to do in parallel, which you should start as soon as possible. So the first one is the Sam.gov registration, which has to be done before the Grants.gov registration, so I'll explain to you what all these things mean. And then in parallel, you should be doing an ERA Commons registration, which is done before doing internal accounts within the ERA Commons system. So this might be familiar to you, this might mean nothing, but I'm going to make sure that by the end of this you understand what I'm talking about, if you bear with me. So the first registration that I'd like to talk to you about is ERA Commons. The reason that I want to talk to you about that first, as you can see on this slide, is the processing time. ERA Commons has a processing time of 2 to 4 weeks. This is a considerably longer processing time than any other registration. It's very light in in the preparation of it, what you need to do on your end in order to register is essentially give a few pieces of information you'll need in order to register your organization's address. You'll need your DUNS number, and you'll need the contact information of the people that you'll assign roles to. With that in hand, you'll be able to register without any problems. So what you're going to do to begin with is create a signing official account. Each organization that applies to grants with the U.S. government needs signing official account. This signing official account is what you get with your original registration, and it requires, this is essentially what requires the 2 to 4 weeks processing time. One second, I'm having trouble passing slides. Just hang on with me 1 second. Okay, so in order to do the ERA Commons registration, you're going to go onto this ERA Commons homepage. On this homepage, on the top right-hand corner, you're going to see the Register Grantee Organization button that I circled in red here. Click on this. This will bring you to the following page. This page is not very attractive. It's very easy to overlook. It's very easy to not actually read in detail. What I want to bring your attention to is point number 3. Point number 3 is fax the registration page. Add the number on top of the page. This might not seem like a very modern way to go, but this is the only way ERA Commons will review your request for registration. And the unfortunate part is that if you register and don't send this, don't fax this page, you'll actually get a confirmation email, which will make you believe that you've submitted the request. But the confirmation email essentially only says that on the condition that you did send the fax, then you did request an account. So it's very, very important to read this carefully and to fax the registration page once you're done with it. The registration page will look like something like this. This is the information you need to provide in order to create an SO account at ERA Commons. It's very, very basic information. As you can see here, the top half is essentially your institution name, your DUNS number, your address, email address, very, very basic information about your organization, and then you have to assign a signing official. A signing official is essentially a person that has the authority to sign on behalf of the company for anything that involves this grant. Here you can see on the bottom right corner an account administrator. Both the signing official and the account administrator have the authority to create a PI account, a principal investigator account. This is essentially what you'll need at the end of the day in order to submit the grant. A signing official account is mandatory. Every organization needs to have one. An account administrator is not necessary. So if you have one person that is obviously the person that needs to have, the authority to create the PI accounts, just have a signing official. If you'd like to have a second person, available to perform this task, then you can assign an account administrator. When you press on this page, when you press the Save button, it'll generate a PDF. And this PDF is the paper that you need to print, and you'll have a fax number at the top of the page. It's very, very straightforward. It's just important not to overlook. Then what happens a few weeks later? A few weeks later, you should receive, if everything goes well, an email notification that your signing official account was approved. From this point on, you can log into your signing official account, and create your PI account. So here I have a screenshot again of the top of the ERA Commons page. This is once you've logged into the SO account. In order to create the PI account, you'll click on Admin, Account, Manage Accounts, as is highlighted here, and then you'll appear here. This page will appear. You see on the top part of the page, you'll have a search bar. Here you just, in Rules, you select PI, you perform a search. If this is a new registration, you shouldn't have any PIs under your organization. That's normal. Then you'll have the bottom part of the page appear, and here you just very basic information. You provide a user ID, i.e. a username that you create, first name, last name, email, and you select the magnifying glass next to role at the bottom and select PI as the role, and then your own organization as organization. And then you click the bottom right, the add button, and then save. This is essentially all you need to create the the PI account. The PI will automatically be prompted to accept this invitation to be a PI, and will have the username that you created for him, and will be able to log in and select his password, and you're ready for submission as far as they're concerned. The next topic that we need to talk about, the next registration, which again, this needs to be performed in parallel. So this is also part of the first steps you do when registering, is the Sam.gov registration, the System of Award Management registration. This registration takes a little bit less time. It takes approximately 2 to 3 weeks to process. In order to do this registration, you'll need an up-to-date DUNS number, which if you don't have takes about 4 to 5 days to obtain, but a lot of companies already have these for other needs. Here I specified up-to-date. It's a little bit obvious that it should be up-to-date, but it's very critical to this registration, because if you changed even just your address, your Sam.gov registration will actually fail, because your DUNS number will have different details associated to it that won't match your Sam.gov registration. So it's very important that you update it before you try processing your Sam.gov registration, because if you'll lose the processing time and create further delays, which is a shame. If you're a foreign applicant, you'll also need a NATO commercial and governmental entity. It's an NCAGE number. It takes about 4 to 5 days to obtain. You have different contact people depending on which country you're in, but it always takes about this amount of time. And for U.S. applicants, you need a TIN or an EIN, meaning a tax ID number or an employer ID number. These are very basic. If you're not aware of that, these are very basic data. Any company, any registered organization has these numbers. So if you're not familiar with them, just be in touch with anyone in the financial department of your company, and they'll be able to help you. Now, an important question is, who should be doing this? Whose responsibility is it, and who do you want doing your Sam.gov registration? Anyone that's actually available to continuously work with you, because Sam.gov will sometimes send you emails that you'll have to address within the course of your grant preparation or your grant submission, and you want to be able to communicate with this person relatively easily. If you have someone that is always on the go, is always traveling, somebody that you can't really rely on to be there on the day of the submission, I think that's not an appropriate person for this role. It should also be someone who's familiar with the applicant organization, with the incorporation information and the financial aspects of the company, because when you're creating your Sam.gov account, a lot of these details will be required of you. So it's important to have either someone that knows them be responsible for it, or somebody that has access to someone that knows them. So I'm just going to show you very quickly how the Sam.gov account is created to avoid any confusion. This is a screenshot of the Sam.gov website. You can see on their homepage on the left-hand side, Create User Account tab. So that's pretty straightforward. You click here, then you get an Individual Account Details tab. You select Create an Account under this tab. This is unfortunately a glitch of the system, that it's still, each time you log in, asks you to confirm, to agree to the terms and conditions of SAM. So you'll have to agree many times. And then when you're logged in, essentially at this point you've created a user account. It means you have a username, you have a password, you can log in freely to the Sam.gov account. This account is in no way affiliated to your organization. The important step and the time-consuming step is to affiliate your user account to your organization, or to your, here in SAM terms, it refers to every organization as an entity. So you'll see on the left-hand tab, register/update entity. So you click on these two buttons, register new entity. And then here I'm presenting to you just a brief list of the elements that are required for creating the Sam.gov account for your entity. So it's separated into the core data, assertions, representations and certifications, and points of contact. Everything is either basic information about your company, or its financials or incorporation information, or agreeing to their terms, or defining who you want to have what role within your organization in the eyes of SAM. So it's a very little decision making, but it does require some level of information. So there's an alternative route. What I showed you until now is how to create a new entity registration, which I think for the vast majority of clients now is going to be the way to go. If you have submitted grants in the past, meaning prior to 2 years ago, and you're familiar with the CCR system, this system was the system that existed prior to Sam.gov, which you can migrate your information from using this function. So here you see you're in My SAM, My Roles, you select Migrate Legacy Account, Legacy System Account, sorry, and you'll get to the following page. So here you select the CCR, the Central Contractor Registration. This is the former system, and essentially all that does is it brings all the information that you had into SAM. So here you see you can identify your account by just putting in the email address that was associated to your CCR account. So it brings in all the information, so you don't have to insert it again. But it doesn't confirm that it's approved. It just pulls the information and plots it into your new Sam.gov registration request. So you have to sort of go through it step by step and make sure that all the information that you had 2 years ago or previous to that are still accurate, that you haven't changed address, you haven't changed financial details, you haven't changed points of contact, maybe the staff is not the same at your company. So you have to go through this carefully and send the same request that you would send if you're creating a new account. And then what happens to your request? So whether you did the migration or you did the new account, at this point you're looking at the same thing. You want to see what your registration status is. So in order to do that, you follow the steps I listed here, which is you log into SAM, you click on Register Update Entity, you click on Incomplete Registration. In the Entity List tab, you click on your company's name, and then you click on Registration Details, View. This will bring you to the bottom right screenshot you have here, which is your entity information. Here you see they're very lucky, the registration status is active. This obviously is your goal, but the process of the review process for your registration consists in the following: the IRS verification, which can take 4 to 10 business days, and which is only required for U.S. applicants. If you're a foreign applicant, you just skip this step altogether. And then for U.S. applicants, once the IRS verification is performed, you go into the NCAGE validation step, which takes approximately 2 to 4 business days. It's important to know what the review process is made of, because you can better understand how much time you're missing till your till your account is activated, and also because you can understand what problem you had, if any, in your registration. If your IRS verification failed or if your NCAGE validation failed, you're going to deal with these two situations very differently. So this, in the hopes that your Sam.gov registration went through fine and you're ready for the next step, you're going to have to wait for approximately 24 to 48 hours to do your Grants.gov registration. Your Grants.gov registration is fairly straightforward in the sense that it's quick. You'll be creating an AOR account, an Authorized Organizational Representative account. this account is very important in the submission of your grant, and is done as follows. You'll go to the Grants.gov homepage, you'll click on Register on the top right-hand corner, and then you'll click on Organization Applicant. This is fairly straightforward. It gets a little bit confusing when you need to, because you need to create an AOR account and then you need to approve it. So I'm going to explain to you just for 1 second what your MPIN is, because this is going to be important in the approval of your AOR account. Your MPIN is a code that you actually choose yourself when registering in SAM.gov. It's possible that a few weeks have gone by, and by the time your SAM.gov account is approved, you don't really remember generating an MPIN code. So this is very easy to find in your SAM.gov account. Why do you need it? So your SAM.gov registration is complete, and you'll create the AOR account, which needs to be approved by your eBiz point of contact. This is a person that you assigned also when creating your SAM.gov account. And when you want to register using your eBiz point of contact, you'll essentially need your MPIN as a password to log into the account. So in order to find your MPIN, this is a little bit tricky for people that are not used to their portal. You'll follow the steps that I described here. You click on Register Update Entity, Complete Registration. Under the Entity List tab, you click on your company name. This is identical to the steps so far that you performed to check your registration status. And then you click under Registration Details, click on View, and then you click on Entity Record, Core Data. And then the first category, it'll be called Business and TIN Information. You'll find here very clearly listed your MPIN number. So you're going to take this MPIN number and use it to log in on Grants.gov. So for your eBiz point of contact registration, you're going to need your DUNS number and your MPIN. That's how you log in. Then you'll select Manage Applicants, Search. You'll click on the desired username. So again, this username is the AOR account you just created. And then you'll click on the Reassign Rules button. You'll click on Authorized Applicant title. And then you'll have to move from the left column, Remaining Roles, to the right column, Current Roles. So you're moving actually the name of the applicant. And then you save the changes. Just to give you a little visual of how the login goes for the eBiz point of contact, you'll just on the Grants.gov site, you go to Login, and then you see there's an eBiz point of contact tab, the third tab to the right. This is where you'll log in order to do this. So once you've done these, you've actually finished your 3 core registrations, your SAM.gov, ERA Commons, and Grants.gov registrations, which should allow you access to most government grants, and if not, it should be the majority of the work for any grants. Here I'm just showing you that there are small registration portals that exist, small registration steps that I haven't mentioned until now. For example, if you're applying for an SBIR or an STTR for the NIH, a new requirement over the last year, I believe, is to register with the SBA. This is the Small Business Association, I believe. So you register with them. It's very, very straightforward. It takes a few minutes, and it generates a PDF document which needs to be uploaded to your grant applications. Without that, you'll be administratively withdrawn and your application won't go through. Another new, fairly new, a few months old, I think, registration portal is eBRAP. This is used for CDMRP applications. Again, this is straightforward. This is, you go in, you put in the information that they require and get the account activated right away. And then you have the USMRIC submission portal. This is part of the DoD. This is also just a very, very easy user account. You create a username, a password, and you're almost done. What these accounts have in common, and not only with each other, but also with the accounts that I haven't mentioned in this presentation, are that they don't require approval on behalf of the submission portal. So these take as much time as, you know, creating a user account for anything. They don't take weeks to be approved, and and you should do them on a need basis. I don't recommend that you go out and start registering for the SBA and for EBRAP and for the USM submission portal. Like, these should be done when you've identified that you'll need them, essentially. So, that's why really I didn't want to make the focus of this presentation these sort of peripheral registrations. So I hope that really this has been helpful to you. This is the end of the presentation. This is really, I believe, all that you should know. I have a lot of experience submitting grants and a lot of experience successfully helping people with any registration questions, any registration problems they've had. And really, I think if you follow what was described here, you should be 99% of the way. There are always odd cases, but this should really get you very, very far as the registration goes. And this is, of course, with the hope that you'll have more time and effort and energy and will to dedicate to the preparation of a successful and competitive grant. And I think that's everything. So thank you everyone for listening. Thank you everyone for calling in. If you're interested in our webinars, we have a YouTube channel, the FreeMind Group YouTube channel. You can also follow us on Twitter. And looking forward to seeing you on our next webinars. Goodbye.